I try to make my videos universal, but this one might be controversial. All I ask is that you watch until the end. Shalom, my friends. Yes, I do try to make these videos universal. Why not just try to make them Jewish? Because I try to talk about the ultimate issues of life. And if what I say does not apply to everyone, it probably does not apply to Jewish people either. Today I'm going to take a moral position on an ultimate issue, and you may disagree with me. I ask you to watch the video until the end, not because I'm going to try to change your mind, but because I believe that having clarity is more important than having agreement. I want to make it clear why I take my position, and then if you disagree, at least you will understand my thinking. The jury in the case of Robert Bowers, the murderer of 11 people in Pittsburgh's Tree of Life synagogue in 2018, has unanimously sentenced him to death. All that remains is for the judge to affirm this verdict at an upcoming sentencing hearing. Now, I acknowledge that not all people, not all Jewish people, and not even all the members of the Tree of Life community support this decision. Many, however, do agree with it, and I'm one of them. It's often said that Judaism is opposed to capital punishment for murder. That is simply an oversimplification. Jewish tradition has always been extremely cautious about capital punishment, and I believe that comes from the one moral argument I know against it, the possibility of executing the wrong person. I respect that argument, which is why I believe that some murderers, not all murderers, but some, should be given the ultimate punishment for committing the ultimate crime. The primary reason I would put a convicted murderer in the category of those who should be executed is when there is no doubt but that the authorities have convicted the right person. I'll give 3 examples shortly. But first, I want to address why I, as a religious Jew, support the death penalty for some murderers. The reason is very simple. I draw my values from the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. With regard to first-degree premeditated murder, the Torah is unambiguous. First-degree murder is punished by the execution of the murderer. In fact, of the hundreds of biblical commandments, this is the only one that appears in all 5 books of the Torah. That in itself is a powerful statement. I do not believe that capital punishment is state-sponsored murder. First of all, I don't think it's murder at all. It is killing, but it is not murder. And further, if capital punishment is state-sponsored murder, then incarceration is state-sponsored kidnapping. But no one argues it should be abolished on that basis. Is capital punishment a deterrent to murder? Again, I first look at incarceration. If that is a deterrent to some crimes, the same must be true of capital punishment regarding some murders at least, unless one holds that murder is the sole exception, the one crime for which punishment is not a deterrent. But even more persuasive is an argument made by Ernest Vandenhag. He said, imagine if a state announced that murders committed on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays would be punishable by execution, but murders committed the other days of the week would be punishable only by imprisonment. would murder rates remain the same as they are now on all days of the week? I think it's a rhetorical question. I must also add that the punishment for a crime is an indicator of how seriously a society takes that crime. If we gave murderers 10 years in prison, but thieves got 20 years in prison, we would be saying that theft is worse than murder. However, all of what I just said is secondary to my main point. I support capital punishment for some murderers because the Torah demands it, and the Torah is the source of my values. Earlier, I promised 3 examples of cases for which the death penalty was, at least to me, unequivocally appropriate. The first is the one and only person ever executed by the State of Israel, Adolf Eichmann. This Nazi leader was put to death for his crimes against humanity during the Holocaust. I am unaware of any rabbinic authority who opposed the execution of Adolf Eichmann. Here in America, I would offer the example of Timothy McVeigh, the perpetrator of the bombing of the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City that killed 168 people. There was no doubt of his guilt. In fact, rather than show remorse, he was proud of what he did. There was no chance of executing the wrong person. I actually know a few people who are generally opposed to capital punishment who have admitted to me that they don't have a good argument against it in McVeigh's case. My third and final example is Robert Bowers, the man I mentioned at the beginning of the video. He murdered 11 people in cold blood simply because they were Jewish. One of them had survived the Nazi Holocaust, only to be murdered on American soil for being Jewish. Again, there is absolutely no possibility of executing the wrong person. The sentence Bowers received is just, and for moral reasons, not because I want revenge, I support it. So that is my case. Whether you agree or disagree, I invite you to comment in the box below the video. This was a bit longer than my videos usually are, so if you are still with me, I thank you for staying. If you would like to continue to address life's ultimate issues with me each week, please subscribe to my channel by clicking on my face right over here, or simply watch my last video by clicking on its icon right over there. As ever, until next time, Shabbat Shalom.